Devadatta, Chapter 12.
In Chapter 12, the Buddha assures the attainment of Buddhahood through two controversial figures, Devadatta and the Dragon Girl. Although many Buddhist narratives portray Devadatta as the enemy of the Buddha, someone who threatened the harmony of the Sangha and plotted the Buddha's death, Shakyamuni Buddha says that long ago Devadatta was his spiritual teacher, who taught him the Dharma Flower Sutra and helped him to realize Buddhahood. Because of this, the Buddha announces Devadatta's future Buddhahood. Dragon Girl, who is not only quite young, but also a non-human female, heard the Dharma Flower Sutra from Manjushri Bodhisattva when he taught it to those living in the ocean. Because she cultivates the sutra with diligence and vigor, she is able to quickly become a Buddha. The significant message this chapter conveys resonates with the central theme of the Dharma Flower Sutra, which teaches that the potential for awakening is ever present in each sentient being. The encompassing power of the Dharma Flower Sutra is such that evil people like Devadatta, as well as females and non-human beings like the Dragon Girl, receive predictions of future Buddhahood.
At that time, the Buddha said to the Bodhisattvas, gods, humans, and the fourfold assembly, "In the past, throughout countless eons, I sought the Dharma Flower Sutra without laxness or weariness. For many eons, I was a king and vowed to attain Supreme Bodhi with a steadfast resolve. To perfect the 6 paramitas, I diligently practiced giving, parting unstintingly with elephants, horses, the 7 treasures, countries, cities, wives, children, servants, attendants, head, eyes, marrow, brain, body, flesh, hands, and feet, not begrudging even life itself. The people of that time had limitless lifespans. I relinquished the throne for the sake of the Dharma, leaving the government to the crown prince. Beating the drum, I announced my search for the Dharma to the 4 directions, saying, I offer myself as servant for the rest of my life to whomever can explain the great vehicle to me. At that time, a seer came forward and said to the king, I have a great vehicle scripture, known as the wonderful Dharma Lotus Sutra. If you will not oppose my teaching, I will explain it for you. When the king heard the seer's words, he was overjoyed. He followed the seer, supplying all of his needs, picking fruit, drawing water, gathering firewood, preparing food, even making a couch of his own body, feeling no weariness in body or mind. He continued to serve the seer in this manner for 1,000 years. For the sake of the Dharma, he waited upon the seer diligently, seeing to it that he lacked nothing. At that time, the world-honored one, wishing to restate his meaning, spoke in verse. I recall in eons past, for the sake of seeking the great Dharma, although I was a king of a country, I did not crave the pleasures of the 5 desires. Ringing the bell, I announced to the 4 directions, I shall become the servant of whomever has the great Dharma, if he can explain it to me. Then the seer, Asita, came and said to the king, I have the subtle, wonderful Dharma, a rarity in all the worlds. If you can practice it, I will explain it to you. Hearing what the seer said, the king's heart was filled with great joy. He then followed the seer, supplying him with all his needs, gathering firewood, fruit, and melons, and reverently presenting them whenever necessary. Because he aspired to the wonderful Dharma, he was never lax or tired in body or mind. For the sake of all living beings, he strove after the great Dharma. He never sought it for his own sake, nor for the pleasures of the 5 desires. Though he had been king of a great country, he strove to acquire this Dharma, which brought him to Buddhahood. That is why I now tell you this. The Buddha said to the bhikshus, I was the king at that time. The seer at that time was the present Devadatta. It is because of my good spiritual teacher, Devadatta, that I was able to perfect the 6 paramitas, kindness, compassion, joy, and equanimity, as well as the 32 hallmarks, 80 subsidiary characteristics, skin of burnished purple gold, the 10 powers, the 4 kinds of fearlessness, the 4 methods of drawing beings in, the 18 attributes unique to a Buddha, and the spiritual powers resulting from perfection of the path. I realized complete and perfect awakening and rescued many living beings. All of this came about because of my good teacher, Devadatta. I announced to the fourfold assembly that after countless eons have passed, Devadatta will become a Buddha known as Tathagata Heavenly King, one worthy of offerings, one of right and universal knowledge, one of perfect clarity and conduct, Sugata, knower of the world, unsurpassed one, subduing and regulating hero, teacher of gods and humans, Buddha, and world-honored one. His world shall be called Pathway of the Gods. At that time, the Tathagata Heavenly King shall dwell in the world for 20 medium eons, explaining the wonderful Dharma to living beings far and wide. Living beings as numerous as the grains of sands in the Ganges shall attain the fruition of arhatship. Countless living beings will resolve to become Pratyeka Buddhas. Living beings as numerous as the grains of sand in the Ganges will bring forth the unsurpassed resolve for Bodhi, attain the patient acceptance of the non-arising of phenomena, and reach irreversibility. After Buddha Heavenly King's parinirvana, his proper Dharma will remain in the world for 20 medium eons. A stupa, 60 yojanas in height, 40 yojanas in width, and made of the 7 treasures, will be built to house his whole body, Sharira. All the gods and humans shall revere and make offerings to this wondrous stupa made of the 7 treasures, using various flowers, perfumed powder, incense, fragrant ointment, clothing, jeweled necklaces, banners and pennants, jeweled canopies, and music and song. Countless living beings shall attain the fruition of arhatship. Countless living beings will awaken to Pratyeka Buddhahood. An inconceivable number of living beings will bring forth the Bodhi resolve and reach irreversibility. The Buddha said to the bhikshus, if, in the future, good men and good women hear the Devadatta chapter of the wonderful Dharma Lotus Sutra and believe and revere it with pure hearts and without doubt, they will not fall into the realms of the hells, hungry ghosts, or animals. They will be reborn in the presence of the Buddhas throughout the 10 directions. Wherever they are born, they will constantly hear this sutra being taught. Born among humans and gods, they will enjoy supreme and subtle bliss. Born in the presence of a Buddha, they will be born from a lotus flower. At that time, from the region below, wisdom accumulation, the attendant bodhisattva of world-honored one, many treasures, said to the Buddha, many treasures, it is time to return to our own land. Shakyamuni Buddha said to wisdom accumulation, "Good man, wait a moment longer. There is a bodhisattva named Manjushri with whom you should meet and discuss the wonderful Dharma. Afterward, you may return to your own land." Then Manjushri, seated on a 1,000-petal lotus as large as a carriage wheel, together with accompanying bodhisattvas also seated on jeweled lotuses, effortlessly emerged from the Sagara Dragon Palace in the great ocean and remained suspended in space. He went to Vulture Peak and, descending from his lotus, walked up to the Buddhas and bowed in worship at the feet of the two world-honored ones. Having paid his respects to them, he presented himself to wisdom accumulation. They inquired after each other's welfare and then, moving to one side, sat down. Wisdom accumulation Bodhisattva asked Manjushri, "Humane one, having gone to the Dragon Palace, how many living beings have you taught?" Manjushri Bodhisattva replied, "The number is immeasurable and incalculable. It cannot be expressed in words or fathomed by the mind. Wait just a moment, and you will see for yourself." Before he had finished speaking, innumerable bodhisattvas seated on jeweled lotuses rose from the ocean. They went to Vulture Peak and remained suspended in space. These bodhisattvas, who had been taught and saved by Manjushri, had become perfect in bodhisattva practices and were discussing the 6 paramitas among themselves. They had formerly been Shravakas and explained the Shravaka practices in space. They were all now contemplating the meaning of emptiness in accord with the great vehicle. Manjushri said to wisdom accumulation, "Such are the ways in which I have taught and inspired beings in the ocean." At that time, wisdom accumulation Bodhisattva praised him in verse. "O greatly wise, virtuous, and courageous one, you have taught and saved countless beings. This great assembly and I have now seen this for ourselves. Proclaiming the principle of the ultimate reality and expounding the Dharma of the one vehicle, you have guided a vast number of living beings, leading them to quickly realize Bodhi." Manjushri said, "In the ocean, I always proclaimed and taught only the wonderful Dharma Lotus Sutra." Wisdom accumulation said to Manjushri, "This sutra is extremely profound and subtle. Of all the sutras, it is a treasure rarely found in the world. Can any living being who cultivates the sutra with diligence and vigor quickly become a Buddha?" Manjushri said, "There is a daughter of the Dragon King, Sagara, who is only 8 years old. She is wise and her faculties are sharp. She knows well the potentials, practices, and deeds of living beings. She has attained Dharani and can fully uphold the extremely profound and esoteric treasury that the Buddhas teach. She enters deep meditative concentration and thoroughly understands all dharmas. In the space of a kshana, she brought forth resolve for Bodhi and attained irreversibility. Her eloquence is unobstructed. She is compassionately mindful of all living beings as if they were her own children. Her merit and virtue are perfect. What she thinks and what she says is subtle, wonderful, and vast. Kind, compassionate, humane, and yielding, she has a gentle and refined temperament and can thus arrive at Bodhi." Wisdom accumulation Bodhisattva said, "I have seen Tathagata Shakyamuni doing difficult ascetic practices for countless eons, accumulating merit as he sought the path of Bodhi without ever resting. I do not see a single place throughout the trichiliocosm, not even one the size of a mustard seed, where this Bodhisattva did not give away his life. He then, for the sake of living beings, attained the path of Bodhi. Who would believe that it would be possible for her to realize perfect awakening in an instant? Before he could finish speaking, the daughter of the Dragon King suddenly appeared before them, bowed her head at their feet, withdrew to one side, and spoke these verses in praise. Having deeply understood the characteristics of offenses and blessings, the Buddha illuminates the 10 directions. His exquisitely wondrous, pure Dharma body is replete with the 32 hallmarks. His Dharma body is also adorned with 80 subsidiary characteristics. He is venerated and admired by gods and humans, and respected by all the dragons and spirits. Among all classes of beings, none fail to respect and revere him. I have also heard that one's realization of Bodhi can only be known and confirmed by the Buddha. I expound the great vehicle teachings to liberate suffering living beings. At that time, Shariputra said to the dragon girl, "You claim quick attainment of the supreme path. This is difficult to believe. Why? The body of a female is unclean, not a fit vessel for the Dharma. How can you attain supreme Bodhi? The path to Buddhahood is remote. Only after one has passed through countless eons, diligently accumulating merit by performing good deeds and perfecting the cultivation of all paramitas, can one attain realization. What is more, one in a female body has 5 obstacles. 1, she cannot become a Brahma. 2, she cannot become a Chakra. 3, she cannot become a Mara king. 4, she cannot become a wheel-turning sage king. And 5, she cannot become a Buddha. How can a female quickly realize Buddhahood?" Then the dragon girl held up a precious pearl equal in worth to the trichilocosm and presented it to the Buddha. The Buddha accepted it. The dragon girl said to Wisdom Accumulation Bodhisattva and Venerable Shariputra, "I offered this precious pearl, and the world-honored one accepted it. Was that quick or not?" "Very quick," they answered. The girl said, "With your spiritual powers, watch as I become a Buddha even more quickly than that." At that moment, the entire assembly saw the dragon girl suddenly turn into a man and perfect the bodhisattva practices. Immediately, she went off to the south, to the world stainless, where, seated on a jeweled lotus, she realized complete, perfect awakening, the 32 hallmarks, and the 80 subsidiary characteristics. She taught the wonderful Dharma to all living beings throughout the 10 directions. When the bodhisattvas, Shravakas, gods, dragons, spiritual beings of the Eightfold Division, humans and non-humans in the Saha world saw from a distance that the dragon girl had become a Buddha and was teaching the Dharma for the sake of all gods and humans in that assembly, they rejoiced greatly and made reverent obeisance from afar. Upon hearing that Dharma, countless living beings gained understanding, became awakened, and attained irreversibility. Countless living beings received predictions of awakening. The world stainless quaked in 6 ways, while in the Saha world, 3,000 living beings remained steadfast on the ground of irreversibility. 3,000 living beings brought forth the Bodhi resolve, and predictions were bestowed upon them. Wisdom Accumulation Bodhisattva, Shariputra, and the entire assembly accepted with faith and silence.